Hello, welcome to West Ham Confidential on Revelator Alf. So it's the day after our journey to the Emirates to face off against Arsenal. So we came away with a 3-1 loss. And, on the face of it, you think, oh, doom and gloom, and, that's the third loss in a row. We haven't picked up any points, and we're, the strongest team in the league, just propping up everybody at the bottom. But actually, there's lots to be positive about. First of all, the 3-1 scoreline wasn't kind of representative of the game itself. Second goal was just a bit of mishap in defence, in terms of a clearance, which led to a kind of cross the box shot come pass, really deflected off Diop into the goal. So a bit unlucky there. And thereafter you could see for the next 10-15 minutes lots of mistakes were being made, a bit unsettling really, but then the third goal came in. Again, it was just towards the end of the game, and a bit of switch up in defence, and Welbeck free, he just turned the goal in really, didn't he? But overall, there were lots to be positives, for West Ham. We were, pretty good on the counter-attack and actually in the attack itself. Not too bad in defence, and overall did quite well in midfield. So, who were the key players for us? Well, first of all, sorry about that, I didn't mean to do that. First of all, Sanchez, for me, in the centre of the park, that holding midfielder, right in front of the flat back four. That's what West Ham have been crying out for a long, long time, in my opinion. We need somebody who can diffuse their play, who can just do the simple things in front of the back four, calm everything down, lay off an easy pass, put a tackle in every now and again. That will allow whoever he's playing alongside, let's say Wilshere, for example, to go out and play a more attacking midfield role, or that he can then spread the passes about to getting the likes of Anderson and Arnautovic and so on and so forth. So for me, one of the key decisions by Pellegrini was the inclusion of Sanchez. When he came on against Bournemouth the week before, I thought he was really good, and I'm really glad that he started the match, and he had a good game. So nothing fancy, nothing spectacular, but that's what you want from that kind of player. Yes, he made a few mistakes later on in the game as well, but all the players were doing that from time to time. Overall, all the players played really well, in my opinion. Diop came in, yes, he made a couple of mistakes, for the goals, and a bit unlucky, you might say, more than mistakes. But he played really well alongside Balbuena. I think that was a reasonable partnership there. Again, Fabianski, a great assured game. Yes, he let 3 goals in, but he made some decent saves and commanded the area quite well. So Anderson again, lots of fans have been out there and thinking, oh, is he right for us, £40 million, waste of money. Well, actually, he had a really good game, driving runs, trying to put passes in and things like that. So he was kind of that forward impetus that we had. Wilshere, on the other hand, was probably a little bit more subdued, a little bit quieter in this game. Look, all players have it, and you can read so much into it because he was going back to Arsenal, where he spent most of his career, and was a bit of sentimentality there, emotion. But it just had a quiet game. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to, criticise him for that. But he tried to put a few passes in. Snodgrass had a reasonable game, but I think, if you're weighing up between Snodgrass and Yarmolenko on that right-hand side, I think you've got to look at possibly, as most fans were now, looking at Yarmolenko as possibly a better option to start, although this is not a criticism on Snodgrass, because I think he's doing some really good stuff as well. He's got some good positions. He always had a good couple of opportunities himself to score. He has some good driving runs as well, so overall he did really well. And Arnautovic, I thought, had quite a few opportunities as well. He missed a few reasonable chances, I would say, in terms of simplicity levels. But overall, I thought again he played really well. But it just goes to show, when we lose our main man, the main element in our team, which is Arnautovic, then we're kind of we're struggling to find a replacement who can just slot in. Perez and Hernandez came in the second half, and yes, they were okay, but there wasn't really that figurehead in the attack. Sorry about that, about the mic. There wasn't that figurehead in attack to aim for and to make things happen by themselves. Whereas Arnautovic, he's like a one-man army, really. You give him the ball and he'll create, or he can feed in other players sometimes. He's not a great passer of the ball, I gotta say. He likes to take all the glory himself a little bit, which is not a bad thing if you want to develop a striker, which is what he is. He's still a developing striker. Let's not forget. But he's got a couple of goals in 2 games. He's our leading goal scorer. So he went off injured with a knee injury. Was it near a knee injury? Was it a little niggle? Was he just protecting himself for the future? Who knows? So hopefully, I don't expect him to see him back for the Wimbledon game, but hopefully you see him back for the Wolves game. If there's any risk there, don't play him. But there are lots of positives. All in all, I thought Fredericks did really well on the right-hand side. Again, I would expect there's going to be a lot of swapping and changing between him and Zabaleta, who also played really well against Bournemouth. So I think when we're needing somebody to be, very, quite pacey down the right-hand side, I think we're going to go for the Fredericks option. When we need somebody with a little bit more experience who can hold back, it's probably a little bit better defensively, but you have to sacrifice a little bit of speed. I think Zabaleta will come back. I think you've got to look to the future. The future is Fredericks with his youth, the age on his side, as opposed to Zabaleta, who's 31, 32, whatever he is now. So he's not really going to be the future going forward. So Fredericks, played well. I think, we're 3 games in. Pellegrini is looking, as we all are as fans, we're looking to see who is going to be our starting 11, our preferred 11. And I think whilst the likes of Masuaku had an improved game, and Antonio had an improved game in the first half, you could see there's still lots of issues with them. Now, I'm not putting the blame on them themselves as players. I would say that possibly their roles within the team are not quite suited to their game. Certainly so for Masuaku. If we can get a Creswell back, whilst he may not be as offensive-minded as Masuaku, may not be as effective, he is a much, much better defender. That left-back role is definitely designed for him. If Creswell is still injured, then I think we need to sacrifice Masuaku in that role and actually put Declan Rice back in that role, who has played there last season and actually did a really good job for us as well. I think you've even got the West Ham player of the game, player of the match, a couple of times in that role. So I think that's what Pellegrini needs to look at. Look at that shoring up that defensive. But Masuaku did play well. A lot more improved. He put some good interceptions in, a few tackles, passes, a few forward runs. But I think his positioning, defensive mindedness isn't quite there. He's still letting players run around him, and get balls in, which. Obviously, that's where you've got to stop with your left back and your right back. You've got to try and prevent those balls, being crossed in the first place. But overall, we played a lot better. Better attack, better keeping possession. Certainly, this is the first half. Really, it's certainly so. We weren't so quick to let our heads, drop and get completely pulverised. Again, yeah, we lost 3-1, but that wasn't really representative of the game itself. Now, this is a results business. Of course it is. We know there's going to be, points is the most important thing, I should say. We know it's going to be, a tough road ahead with lots of tough fixtures ahead of us. With we've got Wolves next week. We've got Man United, Chelsea, we've got Everton coming up. We've got Tottenham after the international break, I believe, and so we're playing the top 6. Last year's top 6 teams in the first 10 games. I mean, that's tough, for any team. But hopefully we can get something against Wolves, whether it's a win or whether it's a draw, and then try and nick a few points here and there. I don't think we can expect too much in terms of actually getting points, but I think if you look after October, November time, that's when we've got a run of fixtures, go through the Christmas period. then the team would have gelled a lot better, and I think we're going to pick up lots of good points, lots of wins, draws, and possibly not too many losses, which is going to be a key thing. So I think we're going to have an incredibly slow start, but I think we're going to have a much better mid and latter part of the season, which is which we didn't have for the last 2 seasons. Yeah, you would imagine. So, but all in all, these green shoots that we keep on talking about, this work in progress that everybody keeps on talking about, yeah, you know what? This is probably the first sign, the first positive sign that we've had of the team. And Kevin against Arsenal, yeah, they're really good, but they weren't that good yesterday, in all fairness. They're very suspect at the back. They're a bit haphazard. I mean, they're playing a new strategy under Emery. So that left a lot of time and a lot of space for us to run into and get on the counter attack as well. Some of their defenders were still in our penalty area when we were on the counter attack. So, I think from their point of view, they're going to have to look at that. But for teams like us, that's for us to go and exploit. We still haven't quite solved it up front, have we? With Arnautovic, Hernandez, Lucas Perez coming on. We're obviously, Carroll's going to come back in November time. We're going to have to look at that. How is Antonio going to feature in that front line, if indeed he does, or whether he's going to be sort of left side, right side, midfield, whichever Pellegrini chooses to employ him in. Is Snodgrass going to be the main man, on the right-hand side, or is it going to be a toss-up between him and Yarmolenko? I think Yarmolenko possibly driving for that, starting place. I would have thought. Then you've got to look at your centre midfield. Well, the midfield, Wilshere, I think, is still the man. He's the lad who's going to. Again, it's our future. Mid-20s. That's what we need to be looking at. And Sanchez, unfortunately, he is 32, I think. So he's coming towards the end of his career. We can get him for 2 or 3 seasons, possibly a couple of seasons. Then we need to look at somebody to fulfil that role. Okay, Noble possibly as a deputy there, or to play alongside when we have to really have backs against the wall. Or we've got to be looking at the next generation, let's say like a Josh Cullen or stuff like that, to actually mould these players into that purely defensive midfield. Okay, obviously we've got Obiang, but he's going to have to be taught to be purely holding in a sort of Sanchez role. Look, it was a defeat. We haven't got any points on the board, and it's tough to take. It's tough to take in terms of the result, tough to take in terms of the performance, that we played really well. But that's the positive. We've got to look at it. It was a positive. It was a step forward. You can see on the progression graph, if you like, we're going up. So I think there's no need to be concerned yet. Pellegrini is obviously doing the right things. He's getting the team playing. The new players are starting to improve themselves, get used to the Premier League pace. Anderson burst of pace 2 or 3 times, and he played really well. So this guy could be one of our players as well. And Arnautovic, I'm concerned about Arnautovic in terms of injuries, his consistency, so on and so forth. So you might argue, well, what am I talking about? Because he's just scored 2 goals and he's on 1. But is he going to be able to constantly last 50, 60 minutes? Is there something behind the scenes and say, well, actually, we're kind of pushing him too far? He was always doing this fake, I don't know, it's fake grabbing of his hamstrings and his legs, and he does it every single match. Moyes was saying last season that no, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just like a twitch that he's got. But there might be something in it. There might be something more than that. So it's something we've got to look at. But we've also got to find somebody who can play alongside him, if need be, if the formation allows, or somebody who can just jump in and deputise for him. And that's where we're lacking, really. So as soon as Arnautovic went off, we kind of lost our purpose a little bit, our direction, or our clear focus. Although we were still trying, it was still, we've got the ammunition, we've got the guns. It's just about loading the right ammunition in the right guns and firing. Pardon the analogy there, but you know what I mean. It's we're not the well-oiled perfect machine yet. We just need a little bit more time, to bond together, to gel, and everything like that. That's what happens when you buy virtually a whole brand new team and they don't have any Premier League experience apart from Jack Wilshere. That's what happens. Pellegrini's saying it. We know we're slow starters anyway. We know that Pellegrini in the past has, started like this with his teams as well. So, again, patience. We all need to be patient. It's tough. It's tough when we're bottom of the league, no points, 9 goals conceded, 2 goals scored. But you've got to admit that last week was really depressing, after the Bournemouth game, because we saw us from, 4-0 Liverpool, and then we went like that. Now, yeah, we've lost 3-1, but we're actually, you could see there's something there for us to come back up. So I think we've hit the valley floor. We're up the other side now. Okay, so this has been West Ham Confidential. Hope you enjoy it. Tough game on Tuesday, Carabao Cup, second round against AFC Wimbledon. Yeah, only about 650 odd tickets, away tickets available. They've been snapped up, of course, hardly anything. You can't blame Wimbledon. They've got a very small ground there. It's a Kingsmead, I believe it is. So ticket allocation by the club. It's one of this ballot process. It's difficult. It's going to be very difficult for any of the fans to, get tickets for that one. Don't even know about streams on this one, so we'll have to wait until that match. It might be shown on Quest TV, it might be shown on some stream somewhere, or look out for fan streams as well, whether on Periscope or YouTube and stuff like that from the fans. Hopefully some of the fans will do that for us and we can watch something. But anyway, the purpose of that and mentioning AFC Wimbledon is, should we win it? Yes. Must we win it? Yes, to progress, because all fans in the summer, we were hopeful for a decent Premier League performance throughout the season and final finish, top 10, let's say. But, I think we'd be lucky to go top 10, top 8, I think we'd be lucky. But I'm predicting a position 8th, 7th or 8th, but there you go. But I think all the fans really wanted a really decent run in a cup. So I think, this is the opportunity now. We've had 3 straight losses. Let's go in against Wimbledon. Let's boss that game. Let's come away with a decent performance and a decent, well-earned result, and take that momentum and build it and pass it on to the next game against Wolves. And that's what we need to do every game. We need to build on our successes. We need to take the positive from this game against Arsenal, build on those positives, build on momentum, and keep on going forward. And that's what we failed to do for the last 2 seasons. Now we need to do it. Pellegrini's team selection, squad selection for Tuesday, I think is going to be crucial in that he needs to choose those players to keep on building. You don't need to rest so many players, because right now they need the fitness and they need to get up to match speed. Get those players in and then just build on for next week. Right, anyway, so this has been West Ham Confidential. I'm Revelator Alf. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for all the subscriptions. I know we're still really small, but hopefully building fast. Thanks for all the kind words you sent on Twitter and in the comment section as well. It's really appreciated. And hope you like an old man talking about West Ham. Okay, catch you on the next time. Cheers.